an all ACC center at Clemson, and because of the nature of the center position, where you've got to make reads of the defense and make the calls, there are some who say that centers are the leader of the offensive line or the coach on the field. Do centers make better offensive line coaches?
Absolutely. Right off the bat. Yeah, it's just because I think at center you have to know everybody's kind of assignment. You have to know what everybody's doing. It kind of helps because when you got that freshman right guard or freshman right tackle, and he's like, "Hey, well, what I got?" When right before the play snapped, you gotta be able to think. So obviously, being able to know everybody's position and know how to tell everybody what to do and kind of orchestrate, kind of ties into being with an O-line coach. I'm sure there's a lot of right tackles out there that are O-line coaches said, "No, man, it's tackles, we know." But I think with the thinking part, with the scheme and being able to think on your toes and kind of control five guys, not control, but to orchestrate five guys, it definitely goes in with coaching of having to run a room and be the leader of a group of guys that are trying to be perfectly in sync on every play. So I don't know if we make better O-line coaches, but it definitely coincides well with having to coach the O-line and being able to kind of run your front five as playing center. So.
You went from being a highly decorated player at Clemson, drafted in the NFL, 5th round by the Rams, and your team in 2007 went 3-13.
Beautiful year.
You're battling for playing time on a team that was losing most of its games.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't get to the NFL by not being a competitive guy, so nobody likes to lose. But is there any way that experience helped you mature, helped shape you as a coach?
Not so much. Obviously, my years, short years in the NFL, helped me a lot, and that rookie year really definitely accelerated my growth and caused me to mature really quickly. It's starting to understand it's not just a game in the NFL anymore. It's livelihoods. You're battling against guys that they're veterans. They have wife and kids, and you're trying to take their job away from them. So to really to switch it and pretty much realize that football's no longer just hey, let's go pick up a football and go have a fun game around back. It's just a game. It's not just a game anymore in the NFL. It's livelihoods. It's a business. It is a corporation, just like AT&T or any of the other businesses in the city are. So not so much being on a 3-13 and having to do that, but just being in the NFL grew me up a ton, and especially that rookie year. I had some veteran guys that year, Orlando Pace and Todd Stussy and Andy McCullum, and guys that are all 12 to 15 year vets. Then I had some younger guys that were kind of in between 4 or 5 years, and because I was kind of the only rookie O-lineman, I got hazed a little bit, but it was more all in fun. It's good stuff. I mean, it's fun. It's one of those deals, but it's just learning from those guys and seeing how they take care of their body, seeing how after practice they're not just taking a shower, getting dressed, and going to eat. They're sitting in the cold tub. They're stretching. They're ice cupping their knees. It's a whole nother hour after practice before they're showering, and just learning how to be a professional, I think. And that's definitely kind of transferred over into, I think, being a coach and just being in the professional world, because nobody's going to tell you as a player, hey, you need to take care of your body. As an NFL guy, you need to take care of, you need to do this. Maybe a young guy, but it gets to a point where you don't take care of your body, the NFL stands for not for long, you're not going to be here for long. Or you don't start acting like a professional, you don't handle your money, you don't handle your finances, you don't start really being a professional, hey, you're not going to be here for long. So learning on the fly, learning real quick how to handle my business and not have somebody following behind me, checking class, it's being a man and growing up, and that helped me more than I think being on a 3-13 team. That was just that was a season it was a really long season. Obviously, my rookie year, and we started out I think 0-8 that year. We got to New Orleans, playing the Saints, and that was my first game to dress the 0-8. So we're trying not to be 0-9. I dressed for the Saints game. We win it. Finally, win that first game. So it was a long year. I remember we were still week. I think we're playing a Thursday night game against the Packers, and we're practicing the week before. We're in full pads banging. And this is like week 15 NFL because we're so bad. And Linehan was the head coach, the OC at Dallas now. And we're banging. It's just everybody's just like, oh, it's December, it's almost Christmas, and we're still popping pads. And it was a long year. So more than anything, just kind of get back. That being a long year, it was more just being in the NFL helped me learn how to handle my business, and I didn't get it all right that rookie year. I still had some learning to do second year, third year, but it definitely grew me up pretty quickly.
In the NFL, you got a chance with 4 different teams before you started your coaching career. You went back to your alma mater at Clemson in player development.
Mm-hmm.
People look at a coaching roster and see a position coach. You can pretty much figure out what he does. Player development, what were you doing? What was your job like?
So basically, it's just like being a grad assistant. It's funny because everyone wants to be a grad assistant, but you have to be in grad school and you make no money as a start. But it's kind of top of the tree, right below full-time coaches, because you're allowed to coach on the field. And that's the coveted spot, is if you want to get into coaching, you need to learn how to run a position, run meetings, handle meetings, script practice to where you're organized. And as a GA, you get to do that. I allow my GA, hey, take centers and guards, work this. Well, if you're player development, you're pretty much standing in the back because it's against NCAA rules for you to coach on the field. Now you do everything else. You're still breaking down film, helping game plan, doing all the grunt work that GAs do. But the funny thing is, at places like Clemson, places like Alabama, you're making benefits. You're making $40,000 to $50,000 a year. So you're making, at Alabama, some of them make $80,000 to $90,000. It's crazy, yeah. And they have 10 of them. Clemson, we had 4 of them, 2 on offense, 2 on defense. Here we have 2 of them. And so that's kind of what I was doing. I didn't get to coach on the field. And that's the same thing Coach Craddock was when we both came in there. And obviously, you're just itching to be able to coach on the field. You want to be in practice. You want to be able to coach every day instead of standing in the back and charting plays and being the good job, guys. And that's all you can do. You can encourage. You can't coach. So that was tough. Now, obviously, I was very happy because I was getting into coaching. It's what I wanted to do. It was the first, step in the door. And so it was a fun year. Obviously, it was a great year, but I really wanted to be able to coach those guys and if I needed to run a meeting or run a group during practice. And so the next 2 years after that first year, I was promoted, even though it's a demotion in pay, and I was promoted into a GA spot and spent the last 2 years there, and that's really where I got to work with Coach Caldwell, and he let me, the best thing that happened to me is Coach Caldwell let me run a group. Hey, you got centers and guards, you take them for 10 minutes. You got centers, you go work on this. So that really helped me learn your coaching style, learn how I'm going to do things, and just kind of grow me as a coach.
I'm glad you mentioned Coach Caldwell. Robbie Caldwell has been a college coach now for 37 years,
yeah.
Only a few of which were at Clemson,
Mm-hmm.
but he's a veteran who's seen everything, done everything.
Recruited me at UNC when he was at UNC. He was my recruiting coach.
Recruited you at UNC.
Yeah.
So, all right, so you've known him a long time.
Mm-hmm.
What do you, I guess, admire the most about him, or what did you try to take from him and put into your own coaching?
One thing about him, he was very patient with guys. He wasn't quick to anger, wasn't quick to jump on guys, and so he was very patient. Now, it'd get to a point after he told you several times, he'd lose his patience, but very patient early on with explaining to guys how their assignment in the meeting rooms and coaching them up. And then I always thought, not necessarily coaching, but obviously even probably a bigger part of the coaching game than it is recruiting. And he was a great recruiter, and you could to watch him, how he talked to parents, how he talked to moms, how he talked to kids, how he could go into a room and not know anybody, but come out of there and they're all ready to vote him for mayor of their city. That type of good. Just he could talk to anybody. And I remember that from being recruited by him. He was at UNC, and I just remember. It's like, man, I love this guy. I want to play for this guy just because he could talk about anything from roping, which is his daughter is a rodeo roper and rides horses, and he could talk about golf, could talk about NASCAR. I mean, anything he could talk to you about it and kind of relate to you, and just his little, not necessarily tricks, but just his way of his social ability of being put in those awkward situations where it's like, okay, I got a whole family, I got to recruit. How do I get to know everybody and sell my school and sell myself in front of these people, but being natural with it. And that's, to me, he was killer at that.
How close were you to going to North Carolina to play for him?
I was close. It would probably have been Clemson or North Carolina. He was gone the next year. So it was one of those days. And I had a buddy that played on North Carolina too, Chase Page, who played with him in high school, and he was there. So it was close. I took an official visit there. Obviously, Chapel Hill's beautiful, but I made the right decision. So.
In an interview that you did on PonyUpTempo.com, you referred to the last 3 years at Clemson as a 3-year job interview under Coach Morris. Mm-hmm. And obviously, graduate assistants take those positions because they want to become coaches. Mm-hmm. But while you were a GA, was there anything about Coach Morris that made you say to yourself, one day you wanted to coach specifically for him, as opposed to just starting your career and seeing where it goes? Did you have a particularly close bond with Coach Morris?
Yeah, and it wasn't instant, because he's not going to let you into his circle just like that. I mean, I felt like I came in and had to earn my way and earn his respect, earn his desire to seek out knowledge from me, because that was the biggest thing that I saw and made me want to work for him or be his O-line coach, was his very humble, listen guys, I don't know it all, I want input. It's not this way or the highway. He wants input. And to be a GA, to be a player development to a guy he's asking input on, it just made you want to make sure, for one, you're not just throwing crap out there. Just saying, you want to give solid input so he comes back to you. So it was one of those things of in meetings a lot of times, oh man, this seems like a good idea in my head. I want to, but then you really want to overanalyze what you're about to say, because you want to make sure that it comes across as this is knowledgeable, it makes sense. Not necessarily you want to be correct, because there's a lot of times, no, I don't like that, I'll go the other way. But there's a lot of times where he's like, man, that's good. So it made you just want to know, for one, know your position that much better, to know the scheme that much better, to know what the other team's doing that much better, because he let everybody in the room have input. It wasn't I'm the king, nobody else talk, this is what we're doing. It was a very open input deal. Now, you'll get shot down real quick if it's something stupid or doesn't make sense. So, again, it's one of those things you want to be very very intelligent in what you say and have it thought out, and you better have if it's a passing play, you know how to protect it. You better know what the problems are going to be. You better know how defenses are going to attack it, because that's the first question you're going to get when you're like, man, I like this run play. Well, what happens if they do this? What happens if they do that? What are you going to do in this? So you better be ready to know whatever you're going to suggest or throw out there. You better know the positives of it, the negatives of it, how you're going to attack it, what are the weaknesses. It better be a well thought out plan, even if it's just one play or one protection, because that's what you get. You get, well, that sounds good versus this on this yard line when the wind's blowing this way and that. But what are you going to do, in this situation with that play? So just that, and how he runs his room, and how those late Tuesday nights when we're game planning. After he's had his spark at like 11:30 at night, and he's like, yeah, let's work short yardage, and he gets that going, and you see that glare, that on the verge of craziness in his eye. Man, let's work this short yardage. Let's go third and 2. All right, what are they playing? Let's he gets into it, and you feed off that. It's like energy. You're just like, yeah, let's keep going. Let's keep doing it. So just that, it's fun in the meeting room. It's fun to be around them. You never feel like, oh, there's coach. Nobody laugh. You're not allowed to laugh. You can come up to and be kind of a smart aleck to him a little bit, not disrespectful, but just like, hey, man, what kind of pants you wearing today? Or so, something like, you can cut jokes with him, and he has thick skin, and he can play it right off with you. That's the best thing about it. It's a very, not loose, but just a very easy environment to work in. And it's, a lot of people say, well, that means you're probably not going to be working hard if it's too easy. No, it just means you want to work that much harder. It means because it's such a great environment and you enjoy working in it, it means that you want to make it so much better to make sure it maintains the way it is. Because if it is that loose environment, and then you start to slack off in ways, and maybe, I'm supposed to do second 10, let's do Tuesday, I'll do it Wednesday. And as soon as that happens, that's when you lose your entire working environment, the culture you've built, and so you work that much harder to maintain that, because it's so much fun. You don't dread going to work. You enjoy that grind during the season because it's your own. And especially now more than ever, it's our own. Coach Craddock, Coach Stepp, Coach Morris, myself, it's our offense now. I'm not a GA working on Clemson's offense. It's our offense. So as good as it is and as bad as it is, it's going to be on us. And so it's just that vibe and kind of how we work is what really intrigues me and intrigued me about working for Coach Morse. But it was never one of those things where I was like, yeah, let me do this and let me ride his coattails so he can hire me. Man, I was trying to get a job. I was to a point. It's like I don't have to work at Clemson. I was ready to go to Western Carolina or Coastal Carolina or Jacksonville State. I wanted my own group of guys. I wanted my own linemen. Whether Coach Morris would take me with him or not, I was just gonna work, and hopefully Coach Caldwell knows a lot of people. He can keep me. I knew some people. Coach Morris could get me in touch with people, because I was always under the feeling, listen, Coach Morris gets his first job. Say it's at a big school. It's hard for a first-time head coach to hire a young first-time O-line coach, because he always says you hire a good strength coach and you hire a good O-line coach. Well, and to me, I'm like, listen, I understand that. I understand that it may be tough for him to hire me. So for one, I'm going to learn tight end. I'm going to learn 3-back. Also, I'm just going to work so I can go somewhere else, and then when he gets his second job, then he'll come back and hire me. So it was never, I'm gonna jump in with him in his first job, because I thought it'd be too hard for him to hire me, because I was a younger O-line coach, first O-line coach, first job, which turned out not to be the case, but that was my mentality the whole time.
During the course of last year, the 2014 season, Coach Morris's name was certainly floated out there as a rumor, one of the candidates who
every year
might have a
yeah.
right, but specific to SMU, he was floated out there as one of the names on the short list that the experts thought had a chance to end up here. When that started circulating, did you ever plant a bug in his ear and say, "Hey, if you get that job, keep me in mind. Please call"? And when he did get hired, how long was the conversation?
I never planted that in his ear because to me, I always felt it was none of my business. Like, so if he didn't come up to me and talk to me about it, then I'm not going to sit there and say, hey, where you going? I want that job. I was more of, hopefully my last 2.5 years of work is planted that bug in his ear, not me telling him, hey, I want to come coach O-line for you. So it was more, I'm just going to work. If I've worked hard enough and it's in a position where he can take me, he's going to take me. That's so I never went to him. Never went to him one time to talk. For one, to me it was none of my business. And we were in a season, I didn't feel like I was, needed to talk to him about it, and it was just that kind of deal. Now, he once he kind of, as we got into it, it was the week before. So it's Thursday night, and we're about to play Boston College. It's probably week 8 or 9. And it's a Thursday night. We're flying to Boston the next morning, and that's when he called me, and it was probably like 10:30 at night. I'm like, dang, 10:30. I know he stays up late. I don't stay up late. And it's Thursday, so it's everybody goes home after practice. It's date night. It's you don't have to go watch practice watch practice after practice. So he called late. I'm like, what is he must need something for tomorrow. Make sure it's done or bring it. He goes, hey, and he always answers the phone. Hey man, what you doing? Well, I'm about to go to sleep. That's all he always answers. It's never hello. He goes, hello. Hey man, what you doing? It's like, well. So I was like, just sitting here with Laura and just kind of hanging out. And he goes, hey man, I just appreciate it, everything you've done and all that. And he goes, I really, there's nothing. I don't have anything set in stone yet. He didn't even mention his school, didn't miss anything. He goes, but if I go somewhere and take a head job, will you go with me? Well, yeah, yeah, of course I will. So it didn't mention a position, didn't mention what school or anything, and so that's really the last kind of we talked about it. That was it, and being respectful to the place you're at, you're not going to sit there and like, I'm out of here, boys. It's like and he's not, and he's being just respectful of where he's at Clemson. So he's not taught. We don't talk about it during it. You're focusing on winning. That's all you want to do is finish it out a great year that we were having at Clemson. So we never talked about it. And then it got to the Thursday practice South Carolina game. I really talked about it. I mean, never talked about it. So it was it was probably Friday. It was about Friday morning, I think, before the South Carolina game. He called me and told me, for one, the school. At the point, I already knew what school because, it's all over. He may be going. That's when he kind of told me and said, hey, you be my line coach. I was like, yeah, absolutely. That's huge. So then that happened. So then December 1st, he flies out here. My wife and I are out at the store or something, and he had already finished his press conference, and he's flying back to pick up me and Coach Crack to Clemson so we can fly back out there. So he calls me that afternoon. He's like, hey man, he goes, you still want to do this? You sure? You still coming? Like, you ain't chickening out on me, are you? I'm like, my bags are packed. I'm out of here. I've cleaned up my office. What do you mean chickening out? I'm gone, man. I'm coming to Dallas tonight. All right, man. Well, I'll call you when we land. And so that was kind of that story of getting hired. But it was all very low key. I know him and Joe talk a lot, Coach Craddock. So Joe knew a little bit more than I did. But other than that, it just kind of happened.
At Clemson, how much did Coach Morris have to say about the blocking schemes that you put together, did he dictate that as the head of the offense? Did did Dabo Swinney do it, or did he just leave it to you and Coach Caldwell and say, here's the play we're going to run, you figure out how to protect it?
Well, it's you have an offense, so it's not like you're sitting there coming up with new schemes. I mean, we're very rarely do we invent new stuff. It's just like everybody's a copycat. We're always looking. Now we may tweak it and do something more, but I'm not inventing any new blocking schemes. I may be implementing them at the right time in the right situation, but I'm not inventing the forward pass or anything like that. I've learned a lot, and I'm doing what I've learned, and tweaking it in my own way. But I'm certainly not inventing anything. So those plays we run, they already come with. They come with kind of certain ways of how you block them and everything. But if there was a way, well, let's fold this week, or let's block it this way, or let's read this guy this. Then it was always a discussion. We didn't just go do it, but it would be Coach Morris. We'd always take it to him, and still now we take it to, hey, I want to fold the inside zone this week. Just give it a look. Yeah, that's fine. Or he'd be like, I don't really like that. Okay, well, we won't do it. So a lot of times, especially at Clemson, it would be Coach Caldwell and I, and we'd always say, hey, want to do it this week? And most of the time, yeah, he's fine with that. Let's see it in practice. Let's see how it goes. Now, if it's not working good in practice, we're going to can it, not doing a game. But it was mainly Coach Caldwell. Obviously, working under Coach Caldwell, he had final approval and everything. I was just, if I thought something, I would take it to him or take it to Coach Morris, and they'd say yay or nay. But I wasn't the end-all, be-all of how we're blocking things whatsoever at Clemson. So.
You now have one spring behind you with your new linemen. Mm-hmm. When you take over a group, whether it was working with Coach Caldwell at Clemson for the first time or now as the O-line coach here, what are the first steps when you start working with a new bunch of players that you've never coached before? What are your first goals?
For one, I think to earning their respect is the biggest thing. To letting them know you care about them as a player, you respect them as a player, and just kind of letting them know kind of what the coaching style is, because I feel like if it's hard to coach somebody tough and hard and get on them if they don't respect you as a coach and they know you don't respect them. So I think the biggest thing you have to do as becoming a new coach is getting to know your players, getting to know how they tick, knowing what kind of personnel you have for one, but also earning their respect and getting to know them a little bit is the biggest thing to me. Once I get to a point, and I think I'm there, where they know that I respect them, I think the world of them, now I can coach them hard. But if I take you and we just met and I go out there and I start coaching you hard, and you can't say that to me. I don't know you at all. But once I get to know you and I know what makes you tick, I can coach you, and I can coach you hard, and I know when to pull off. I know, but until you know your players or your personnel, you're kind of lost as a coach, because you don't know who can I push a little bit more, who can I back off a little bit. This guy needs reps, this guy needs visual, so the biggest thing to me was I need to, for one, you better learn their name quick. Because if you're just saying, hey man, every time, this guy don't even know my name, so roster. I need to know their names, I need to start calling them by their names, I need to start, letting them know that I care about them and want them to, I'm sorry. Mom's trying to FaceTime me. But once I let them know that I care about them and respect them and earn their respect it was the biggest thing to me. I just had to get to know them and know what kind of people they are before I could start coaching them hard. And then once that happens, it kind of opens everything up. I can call them on their crap a lot easier, and they know it's coming from a good place. It's not just coach is just being a jerk. It's I'm not a big yeller, so they know they kind of know when I get pissed off now when I do raise my voice, because I don't think you can't really teach when you're yelling. It's just that nobody listens. Now you may have to yell to so people can hear you, but yelling, if I'm sitting there yelling at you in a meeting or demeaning you and saying you're not I'm not teaching you anything. It's going in one ear, it's going right out the other, and all you're doing is getting pissed off because coach is yelling at you. you're not getting anything from this, set a red face and getting embarrassed. But there's a time and place for that. But once you get to that point, now I have you to where I can coach you hard, and it can be a very direct, open relationship where I can call you on it, and it's, yeah, coach is right, that type of deal. So that was the biggest thing for me. Just I got to learn my players.
In that same interview on the Pony Up Tempo website, you talked about how playing on the offensive line is dirty work, and that everybody gets nicked up, and that a lot of being successful comes down to simply how much you really love football. Every player is going to tell you he loves football, so how can you tell which ones genuinely love what they're doing?
You can't know right away. It's one of those things, if I'm sitting with a recruit and they tell you they love football, you don't know right away. But over time, as you recruit them, as you talk to their coaches, and then sometimes you don't know till they really get on campus. But once you see how they are in meetings, how they go about their day, do they hate coming to meetings, hate taking notes? Do they not enjoy pre-practice work? Do they not enjoy post-practice work? Are they just kind of moping in the weight room and getting? Then you find out they don't enjoy the grind. They may love football, but when they say they love football, they love Saturdays. They love Friday nights in high school. They love Saturdays. That's what they love. They love 12 days out of a year. And if you just love 12 days out of a year as a football player, you're going to be miserable, because everybody loves game day, but God, not everybody loves that grind. I didn't enjoy going to lift every day and going to meetings every day and then having to go to class, but it's something that it's part of that lifestyle. It's a part of, this is what I have to do. So you pretty much, this is what I'm going to do. Every day was I like, yeah, I can't wait to work out? No, nobody is. And everybody that tells you that is false. There's days that every human being goes through, man, but it's the people that enjoy being successful and wanting to get better and enjoy the victory on Saturday even more, because you put in that grind and you put in that work, and you've pushed past it. And I always looked at it as, when I was a player, and even now I do things, I call it my future self. I don't want to do it now, but that me in 6 hours, when I'm laying on my couch enjoying that I woke up and worked out this morning, God, I'm going to be so happy with myself, because I'm going to be feeling good. I got my work in. My future self is going to thank my present self because I got it done. So that always was my thing. I'm going to be so happy that I got it done later today than procrastinating or not doing it or skipping it. That's kind of how I trick myself into doing it. So pay myself later.
Offensive linemen and offensive line coaches talk about dominating their opponent, being bigger, tougher, meaner, stronger. You played with a guy in St. Louis who now has a reputation for being one of the meanest guys in the NFL, yeah. Richie Incognito.
Yeah.
Do you need to be mean to be a successful offensive lineman? And have you seen any meanness in the guys that you've got, or is it too early after just spring?
I don't know, mean. I think aggressiveness and I don't know if mean's the right word. I think a desire to do my job and do it well as an offensive lineman, and to make sure that nobody touches my quarterback, or to make sure that my running back has lanes is what I need in linemen. A meanness, yeah, I think it's hard not to have a little bit of a mean, aggressive mentality when you're double teaming a guy off the line, or you're trying to. Everybody's going to have a little meanness to them, but I don't think a guy being mean is going to make him a great lineman. I think a guy that desires to be the best he can and not get beat by his opponent and dominate his opponent to his fullest is the lineman I want. Whether that's a mean guy or not, I don't know because sometimes being mean just clouds your mind. All you're thinking about is, I just want to, just put as much force as I can on this guy, and I want to. But I don't think being mean goes a long way as an offensive lineman, but I think just the desire to dominate the guy in front of me as well as I can, and to make sure that no one touches my guys is a better trait to have than just being a guy that's mean. Now, having some nastiness, having that, and making sure, not helping guys up and kind of, laying on them a little longer when they're down. That's it. But it's a, just being mean. There's a lot more that needs to be involved. But I guess if that answers the question.
Jess Lepp said that a great offensive line coach has to be a great technician, and he said you're one of the best technicians around. Would you rather, when you're getting new players, whether it's inheriting the guys that you now have at SMU or when you're looking at recruits, would you rather find players who are already technically advanced and teach them to be bigger, stronger, meaner, tougher, or would you rather find the biggest brawler you can find and refine his technique?
It depends. If the biggest brawler I can find is raw but can still move and is athletic and is what I want, yeah, I'd love to have that guy, because now you're coming in and you're hoping he hasn't had a lot of bad habits, but you can take him and kind of mold him exactly how you want him. But then if there is that guy that is just a great technician, you really take both of those guys. I mean, it's kind of hard to answer. If you have a guy that comes in and has just great technique and come in and play, yeah, you love that guy because you can now teach him the finer points of the position, which you'll do with your juniors and seniors as they progress from being raw. But then you also love the raw guy because you can sit there and coaching is about developing kids and seeing how they grow over 4 years. So to take a raw guy that can't take a 6-inch step or take a short step or can't pass sets and to see how he develops, and then senior year you're like, wow, that's to me as a coach that's very fulfilling is to see a guy go from this to that, and that's so yeah, I definitely would love to have the raw guy as long as he hadn't had a lot of bad habits, because then you got to spend the first 2 years breaking bad habits. So that's that's one thing. But to take a kid that's like Clemson got 2 guys this year, Jake Frew-Morgan and Mitch Hyatt, two of the best tackles coming out of high school, that had great technique work already. Great technique work. Really pass sets. They just understood body movement, body control, had great coaching. So now you can take those guys and really, as a freshman, and I can't wait to see, even though I'm not coaching them, I can't wait to see what they're like their senior year, because they're going to be that solid in technique. So it's hard to say. I'd take both those guys.
In terms of recruiting, there are some O-line coaches who have said, I will recruit only high school tackles, because generally they're the tallest, longest arm, usually the best athlete. And some of them, I can move them into guard or even into center. When you recruit, do you want only tackles who will be the elite athletes, or do you want specifically different body types, different position players coming out of high school?
I think there's twofold now. I think you need different positions, different body types, because to take a 6'5" tackle and then put them inside, now you got a 6'2" quarterback that has a little trouble seeing over that center. Not saying 6-foot guys can't play center, but I think you need different body types. Also, it also depends on what schools you are. Now, the schools that say that, Alabama says that, and they can recruit that way. Baylor says they don't recruit guys under 6'5". Well, they can recruit that way right now. I can't recruit that way. There is a ton of 6'2", 6'3" guys, even 6'4" guys that are unbelievable athletes, and I'll take those guys all day. So, to me, I think you need different body types. You try to say as you recruit, maybe like I said about one, he's going to be a center. Well, I kind of see it that way. I kind of try to build my line. That may not always work that way, but I'm trying to build a line in my head. Okay, this guy I think can play center. This guy can play guard. Okay, here's my tackles. Obviously, it's hard to do it that way, and it doesn't always work that way. But it depends on what school. I couldn't, if I said I'm only recruiting 6'5" guys here, I'm going to get them, but they're going to be sloths. They're gonna, it's that deal. I'll recruit a 6'3" guy, because to me, I'm 6'3". Right now, I wouldn't even be recruited if I was a high school football player, just because everybody wants. I'm short now. I used to be tall for an offensive lineman. Now I'm a short guy. It's like short arms. He's too short. He can't play. That's what they immediately look at your arms and your height. And now I will say this: if high school recruits are talking to me and they're not looking down at me or eye level with me, probably not going to recruit you. If you're looking up at me when you're talking to me, because I'm not the tallest guy, you're probably not going to get recruited, because I'm not going to recruit too many guys shorter than I am.
You just had your first spring, so you're getting to know all these guys, learning their strengths and weaknesses. And you had a couple of guys who didn't get to practice with you, Evan Brown, Braylon Hyder, because they're rehabbing injuries. Because the offensive line, being what it is, requires reps, requires timing and chemistry to be successful, how much does that set them back to have sat out the spring, or can they learn what you expect of them by going to meetings and watching film and watching practice every day?
They can. It sets them back a little bit with individual work, with technique. They're both smart kids, so I don't think they'll have a problem picking up the system. They did sit in every meeting, so it wasn't like they weren't there. But just what I require technique-wise, and then just not playing for a year is always, you're a little rusty. But the nice thing is we had 15 practices in spring. Well, we'll have 15 practices in fall camp by a week and a half. So we'll be, week and a half, 2 weeks in, we'll have gotten that amount of practice in. So I don't think it'll take long for them to catch up. They're both really athletic. I'm really excited about both of them because they're both bigger lower halves, powerful guys that can move. Braylon moves really well. He's very, very flexible. Same way with Evan. I'm really excited about Evan because I just know how strong he is. Know how we recruited him at Clemson. So it's I know about Evan, and I look forward to him to jumping in there. But it may have set him back a little bit, but as many reps as they're going to get and as much practicing as we do between day one and opening day, they'll be fine.
And along that same line, could a true freshman get playing time under you, or are you so locked in with the veteran guys have an extra 15 practices in the spring?
No,
that
a freshman can start all day for me. If they're better, it's who's better. I don't care if you're a fifth-year senior or you've been on campus 6 weeks. The guy's been on campus 6 weeks, he's starting. I don't care about my mom's at the game, I'm a fifth-year senior, I've been here. I don't care. Do you want to win, or I'm starting the best guy? Now, our thing is if they're even, if the freshman is just as good as the fifth-year senior, the senior's starting. But if it's hands down, when Sammy Watkins came to Clemson as a true freshman, he had a fifth-year senior receiver in front of him. Sammy Watkins is starting over that guy. They were even for about a day and a half. Eventually, unless the senior's lying to himself, he's like, oh, yeah, he should start. He's going to see it. So I have no problem starting freshmen.
When you take over a team, you got to identify your players, and then you have to identify combinations of players that work. And one of the most visible moves you made in the spring, Taylor Lasecki, who has started for close to 3 years at SMU. He's on the Remington Award list of centers. He ends up spring playing right guard with William Barnes at center. What did you see in either of them that led you to the decision to slide Taylor over and put Barnes in the middle?
First, to talk about Lasecki is because he's played so much football and as intelligent as he is, he can easily slide to guard because he knows that spot just like that. Now, there's some technique things he's got to learn, and basically I needed somebody. I needed somebody on that right side towards the end of the spring that was going to be a little bit better in there. Had a couple guys I was trying and everything, but to me, the way William Barnes had worked, and just to talk about that kid, all he does is he's one of the best leaders I got. Everything is just everything's a good day for him. He's happy. He's out there. He works his butt off. Very intelligent, knows what to do, and just the type of spring he was having at center, as a second team center, really good. Everything he was doing, he's an overachiever type kid, and that gave me the opportunity where I felt like, hey, I can throw Lasecki at right guard and put Barnes in there and feel like I have a pretty good, not much of a drop off in terms of the guy running the show. So that was more the reason why I just needed to shuffle some things around. Had some guys hurt, so I didn't have a guy that just boom, there's my right guard. So that was at that time in spring, just to see how Barnes could handle running the show. How Lasecki, again, it's a long season. I cross-train guys. I need my guards to play center, my tackles to play guard, both sides, be able to put both hands down, be able to switch the footwork in your mind. So that's kind of just trying guys at different spots. And Barnes had earned the starting center spot, not necessarily because he beat out Lasecki, because Taylor had a great spring. It was more, I just needed more at right guard, and who was my best 6 guys. Those were my best 6 guys. My best 5 guys. So it was easy to just find my best 5 and get them on the field.
You spoke earlier about how important it is to have guys who really love football and love the grind that goes into preparing for Saturdays. You've had 15 practices and 6 months to get to know these guys. How many of your guys do you think love football?
I would say if I say I got the 17 on scholarship now, or 16, or whatever I have, I would say probably, 10 really love football, enjoy the grind, and understand that it is a grind, and understand that they're here to do a job. And then there's some guys that you automatically see it, and you know what, they don't want to put in the work now. They'll be crying for playing time in the fall when they're attaboy and guys coming off the field after we score. So I don't worry about those guys that don't enjoy the grind. They'll be gone soon enough, and I'll have guys in here that enjoy the play.
When spring ended, how close were you and Coach Craddock and Coach Morris to having a set starting 5 in your mind, or is every position wide open in August?
Every position's open. Now I have a day one guys that are going to start. Yeah, a day one. But again, I don't care if a freshman comes in and beats out a 5th-year senior that's been starting for 3 years. I don't care. I'm going to play the best guys. So yeah, I have a day one of fall camp in my head. Who's going to go out there? But if day 2, if a second team beats out him, he's going right. It's within that first 2 weeks of fall camp, there's going to be a lot of who's going to be my bet. After that first 2 weeks, I'm taking those guys and I'm running with them. The rest of them, sorry guys, I'll see you in spring. Because I'm going to have to focus on the guys that I know can play this year. I'm not going to be able to spend all of fall camp trying to get guys that I know aren't going to play, better. They're going to do everything, but at a point, and it's usually about 2.5 weeks in the fall camp, and this is every team. You know who's going to be on scout team. You know who your road warriors are. You're going to take those guys. You're going to run with them and get them as good as you can the 3 to 3.5 weeks you have before your first game. That's not new here. It happens everywhere. It's just that's how it's got to be. If it's 6 guys that after 2 weeks I feel good with, I'm taking 6 guys and rolling. If it's 7, it's 7. But I can't take 15 guys and get them all reps and try to prepare 15 guys to play against Baylor. I can do that with 7, 8 guys.
During the spring, one of your players described you as a great teacher with a lot of attention to detail and a very hands-on guy who can demonstrate what he's trying to teach us. Now, it hadn't been that many years since you were in an NFL camp and on an NFL roster. Do you find yourself wanting to grab a helmet and jump in there? And can you get as much enjoyment out of coaching as you did out of playing?
Absolutely. I'll tell you this. I don't enjoy that player grind anymore. I enjoy the coaching grind. I don't enjoy that player grind, okay, anymore. So, yeah, I can give you 6 plays. I got 6 plays in me. You better have scored because I'm done. I'm so scared about getting hurt now. I picture my Achilles blowing out, doing something stupid, or so. As I do like to get in there and demonstrate. But there's a time where, man, this sled doesn't move as easy as it used to. So I'll be like, well, I'm going to do it slow, guys. Here's my footwork. Obviously, we're going to go a little faster than what I can do here. Because I get scared of getting hurt. I'm like, man, am I going to blow my knee out doing this and be that guy? And so I like to demonstrate because it's a visual. I can say this is what I want. This is how I want it done. So I think that helps a lot. That helped me as a player to see it done right in front of me. There's a different thing you love with coaching as a player. You still enjoy that competitiveness that you do as a player, but when you get into coaching, you really enjoy that kind of that strategy kind of deal. This is what they're doing. Okay, let's beat it with this. Let's see, and then the payoff on Saturday when that works, or you enjoy that part of the game. That kind of starts intriguing you a lot more. Is let's find the weaknesses of this defense and let's attack it. As a player, you're not doing that. You're just trying to attack the opponent, but that competitiveness is still there, just in a different outfit on Saturday.
So you're getting the competitive itch scratched without the bumps and bruises and the ice
absolutely.
stuff.
I'll still be able to walk hopefully when I'm 50. You're still getting that Saturday juice flowing, but it's a different type of competitiveness to where it's a lot less. You still have that anxious, nervous feeling, but it's not the same that you were when you know you're about to go play, especially a big game. An 8 o'clock game. You're waking up that morning. It's a long day in a hotel. You got to control your nerves. As a coach, I get anxious. I don't get as nervous as I did as a player, just because I know you got to be a little bit more controlled. You got to be able to think, and so that's that center mentality of don't get too high, don't get too low. Be able to run the show and control what you need to do. So. But definitely the competitiveness itch gets scratched as a coach.